Hello and welcome to another edition of Grandstanders Live. I'm your host, Scott Kerman, and I'm joined by my usual cohorts, the Professor Russ Stevens and Uncle Joe McLaughlin. Well, we have another great show for you tonight. So, boys, let's get it started. We have to start with the Old Town team, boys, the Boston Red Sox. And before we got on the show, I was starting to talk about Chaim and how he's really done this team a disservice. And my first question for you before we start anything, and we always start with Russ. Russ, they don't have starting pitching possibly to complete the season. Could this affect them being sellers, meaning the James Paxtons of the world can't go out the door because you literally can't fill enough
field the team?
Very interesting. Yeah, I mean, I hadn't thought about that, but there's a certain level, a certain minimum standard you need to have,
right?
If you're a Major League Baseball team, especially in Boston, and you have to be careful about putting such a crappy product on the field that you turn off, a year's worth of baseball fans or half a season's worth of baseball fans. So yeah, you might be right. Like Paxton is clearly the guy to trade, but if he's the last man standing, can they really afford to trade him?
Right. And Joe, that's all Chaim. Chaim not keeping guys like Walker and Evaldi, not creating some kind of minor league system in a minor league system where we have some veterans who are pitching in Worcester to come up at these times.
You know him. He just seems to shop in the bargain bins, grabbing guys, like Whitlock and Houck, great guys, but you knew they had injury problems. They were injury prone. Sale, he inherited him, and he was for sure an injury waiting to happen. Paxton, we've been holding our breath on, and he's come through. But they, what are you going to do? Throw Cutter Crawford and Brian Bayo out there every night?
That's another issue, is that a guy like Bayo, he's been fantastic. He's starting to show, at the very least, he's a number 2 starter, possibly
going deep too,
moving forward. But he's got to be on an innings restriction season list because the last thing you want to do is burn this guy out when you're playing for nothing.
Yeah,
go ahead, Russ.
Yeah, this is what happens. There's always with Chaim, and clearly it's the message from ownership. So I include them all in it, where there's always an angle. It's a guy who's, to Joe's point, got an injury problem or playing for a contract or coming off a down year or something. Like, instead of just going out and saying, I'm going to sign or re-sign, because that's another issue.
Yeah.
A proven major league player who does not have injury problems, and I'm going to pay them their market rate. And that seems to literally not be done anymore in Boston, which is we're going to pay market rate for a really solid player.
Right. And Joe, moving forward, this is Chaim's MO. I mean, nothing's going to change as long as he's still at the helm.
Oh, I agree. And you have to start to worry about guys like Bayo. Remember, he started the year, he was only pitching 4 or 5 innings, remember? Maybe finished the 5th and they pulled him right out of there. Now Cora's begging him to go 7, 8.
Yeah, so it sounds like a situation where he's Cora's trying to save his job at the expense of possibly the development of a guy like Bello.
Yeah, I'd hate to see Bayo get hurt somewhere along the line here from overuse.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was watching the Texas Rangers broadcast, and they were talking about how many pitches this guy's been throwing in his last 7 starts.
Oh, is that right? They were even on it?
Yeah, even they were talking about it. They're like, that's a pretty heavy load for a young pitcher. And again, young pitchers, Russ, you've said this many times, might as well schedule their Tommy John surgery at some point in their 20s.
Yeah, he's in a tough spot. First off, as you guys know, I don't think he should be making the decisions at this trade deadline. I think last year proved he's not good at it. And you're going to trust him with the keys to the car once again, even though last year he got into a fender bender on the expressway with it. Like, are you just going to hand him to him again and say, well, you'll do better this time? Like, why would we do that?
Yeah, because Joe, who should go out the door for sure? And Duvall, Paxton.
Yes, older veterans like that don't have a
Turner,
future really.
Jansen,
Nice players, but don't have a long-term future.
and a guy like Turner, you should be moving right away. You should be moving him
Yeah,
right
you're not
now.
signing him to a 3-year deal.
No.
So you may as well move him, get what you can, and
Yeah.
let's hope that a whole mess of prospects. Kansas City and Pittsburgh have been doing that for years, and it hasn't worked out. But we'll see.
To show you how poor of a manager and an administrator Chaim is, I don't know if you guys know this, but the minor league system, the Worcesters and the Sea Dogs, are having problems right now fielding teams.
Yes.
They don't have enough players right now. They've obviously had some injuries, but they're having problems fielding 9 guys on a team right now in some of their systems. They're taking guys off the independent league. They're doing, literally the Boston Park League may get a call.
Saving one salary or something.
Yeah, this is Tampa Bay Ray kind of stuff. This is what, franchises in the middle or in the lower third do. Minnesota Twins. I understand why Minnesota has to operate with a capped budget, because they're in a media market that doesn't pay them the kind of money, that they don't make the kind of money on Nesson that other teams make. The Red Sox are not a mid-market team, but they're being run like one. And I thought it was crap at the beginning. I thought that was overblown, or it was an easy take from the media. This is what you get.
Yeah, right.
He's saving. He's instead of a 6-man roster, Worcester or Portland, he's probably running a 22-man roster out there and saving 4 salaries.
That's the problem. That's what he's
4
doing.
minimum wage salaries, for God's sake.
Yeah, it's again, at some point, how many years are the Red Sox fans gonna swallow last place?
I think the clock is ticking. I think it's a big risk for this team to let him make these moves at this deadline, because they're going to fire him at the end of the year, right? Like, if this doesn't improve, are you going to give Chaim another year?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, the one thing he's got going for him is his job isn't to put a winner out there. His job is to make money for John Henry and the limited partners. And if he's still doing that, I tend to doubt he is. That the Nesson ratings have to be in the shitter. They just have to.
No question. And look, they weren't going to fire him before July 9th in the draft. They obviously they did all their due diligence. After the draft, I assume he'll have to sign some of these guys. So he's got another month. So probably after they sign the draftees and they have a limited window that they can do that you could see him go if things have gone bad by the late August or September, you think?
Sure, because they're going to want to get a jump on hiring somebody. I said
they
it
want the cream of the crop.
I don't want to hire any more general managers who this is their first job. I don't want any more rookie general managers. I'm done.
Did you see who's doing the draft? They hired the guy that's running the draft for the Red Sox is a 28-year-old that was an intern with the Sox just 5 years ago.
Great. Yeah, fantastic.
And now he's 28 years old and he's in charge of the entire draft.
Look, I got no problem with Chaim's draft picks. You take a look at their draft picks; they've been pretty good. Even this kid Blaze Jordan, and you go down the line. He should be the farm director, or he should be the head of scouting, right?
Yeah.
He's not a GM; he's a head of scouting.
Yeah. Okay. So that's my next question. I don't know if you have any names, either of you, but do you have a name that you'd want to see the GM?
Well, you know my answer, so I'll let Joe go.
Well, yeah, no, I know,
No, I want a baseball first guy, finances second.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
I want Alex Cora to be the GM. I want Alex Cora to be the GM of the Red Sox. I want someone who can evaluate.
I'm more than fine with that. That's baseball first.
Yeah, the players in the zone system, evaluate the opposing team's players, evaluate players and opposing team systems. He's got just like Brad, he's got 3 years where he's going to know the personnel at the major league level better than anybody. And so why don't you use him in the GM and give him a finance guy? If he needs help on the financial side, fine.
Well, don't they have 5 vice presidents there?
Yeah, I know. Look, wouldn't you agree that Brad Stevens is going to get a lot of head coaches jobs as GMs in the next 5 years with the
It
job?
was very successful.
Yeah, you're right. He's kind of paved the way and
Yeah.
showed you what was possible.
When I like the fact that he's not afraid to be dynamic and keep changing. You can't stand pat in this world. You got to.
It all begins with the proper evaluation of your own players.
Right.
Right. I mean, that's what made Belichick so good for so long, right? Is that's a guy who evaluated his own players really, really well. And he constantly got rid of guys on time or a year early, but hardly ever late, right?
Because that's what, right? Because he's watching.
That was his genius.
No one came back to haunt him.
He was unsparing in his evaluation of his own football players.
Absolutely, yeah. And Cora seems like the right guy for it because, like we talked about, he not only knows the Red Sox personnel, but he knows the personnel around the league.
And that would leave an opening for Scotty's favorite to take up 2 spaces on the bench.
Look, I think if Veritek wants the job, he's the
fans would give it to him in a heartbeat, right?
Because that gives them some love PR wise, and a last place finish, you're going to need something.
That would sell tickets. That would get the people re-upping their season's tickets.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure the media guide in 2024 will be Jason Veritek. Right? So yes, they will be selling Veritek. Whether he wants the job or not is another story.
I always hear he doesn't want the job. He likes being around the team and being involved in baseball, but he does not want the responsibilities of manager.
Yeah, he may not be able to.
He's a little too much of a micromanager, to be able to take on that bigger picture of job.
So, Scotty, would you? It's a touchy subject, but there's a player on the Red Sox whose value is very high right now. Very
not a chance. Not a chance.
And if a team came to you and said, "Look, we love this guy, this kid Duran. He's showing he can play in Major League Baseball. We'll give you 2 good prospects for him."
I'd want a major leaguer in return.
I gotta see.
Scotty loves his prospects. Couple like top AA prospects.
No, I want a pitcher I want a starting
top
pitcher
AA. Yeah, one of those top AA pitcher. Yes. If a stud.
No, I want a major league pitcher. I want
you're not going to
for a major league.
Not going to get
bird in the hand for a bird in the hand.
You're not going to
get that.
Crap in the bushes.
No, because it's going to be a team, Joe, obviously, that is, competing for a, World Series title this year, you would assume. You would be selling.
Duran would be someone a team is looking to get into for a long term, like 4 or 5 year contract.
Yeah, right.
He's not a rental type guy. He's the kind of guy a team would want to sign.
The reason, I think in the end, you're going to need to choose. If Duran's the real thing, and I'll give you every week that goes by, he's proving it more and more. So if he's the real thing, if this is the kind of player he is, and you believe in Cedeno Rafael, right, as maybe your center fielder of the future, it's going to come down to either Duran or Verdugo or Rafael. You can only have 2 of the 3 because Yoshida's here for a long time.
Right. And you want Yoshida to be here. Yeah, that's it. I don't know what you do. It's nice to have that. I think that because Rafaela can play short and he has some other, and then you have the
know who our shortstop of the future is.
No, right? Of course, yes.
We know who our second baseman of the future is. It's probably Nick York, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of comes down to who do you think your center fielder of the future is, and if you think it's Rafaela, and you don't think Duran can play right field, or you want to re-sign Verdugo, well, wouldn't you trade Duran now at the height of his value?
Yes, that would make sense. I mean, you would really be betting on Rafaela.
So you want to trade just for the listeners, you want to trade Jarren Duran. That's what I'm hearing.
No, in the right. Of course, everybody except Tristan Cases is available in trade.
Yeah, because Duran can't play right field. He's got a rag arm. He'd never be able to play right field.
Tristan Cases is untouchable. Everybody else can go.
All right.
No, yes. Look, but would you agree, Russell, that Duran shows abilities with the speed and what?
Yes.
That in your 50 plus years of watching the Red Sox, and Joe, your 60 plus years, that we have very rarely had in this town.
Very rarely had. And look, the thing I give him credit for is he's had some valleys and he's gotten out of them. You know, he's been in the ditch a couple times and he's gotten out. He's had 2 slumps that he's broken through. That's, to me, is the key thing.
And the guy walks up there with confidence up the yin yang, Joe. I mean, Jesus.
Did you see who they're gonna make a second baseman out of? Because second base has been so bad with
Justin Turner.
Justin Turner. I mean, he's ham-handed at first base.
This is July 6th.
It's bad.
And they're
This is
fucking
the Boston Red
scrambling
Sox.
like nobody's business, right?
The
And they
Boston
got
Red Sox.
this guy who looks like the Cowardly Lion coming up as a catcher that can't reach second base.
And you got to hand it to Cora, guys. I mean, that this
I
team
mean,
is one
bastard.
game above 500, and it's a fucking fire sale every day.
He gets dealt a bad hand of cards every day.
Every day, he doesn't know what the fuck's going on. I mean, he's got to put Caleb Ort on the field and start him in games. What, he's started 2 games?
Although he wasn't that bad.
I mean, oh my God, the Garzers. This was, see, none of us watched the COVID year, but I'm telling you, that's who this was. That's what it was. It was the Orts and the Garzers and the Sharifs or whatever the fuck their names are. That was that whole season.
Yeah.
That was
bad
too.
This is not a Major League Baseball team right now.
No.
And he's got him at 500.
Like something you'd see put on the field in Oakland or, Pittsburgh or Cincinnati in other years, just a real crappy team, just throwing out 25 guys.
But there was no excuse. I hate to go back in time, but if you have Walker and Evaldi in this starting rotation, it's a different team.
And they probably would have been less money than Kluber and whoever else they signed.
Absolutely. It would have been the same money. Yeah.
Well, we're going to get the chance to watch Big Game Nate tonight. So,
he came back and tried to get signed with the Sox for even less money than they had offered, and they told him go pound sand.
Yeah, I mean, okay.
To me, though, that's fine. They should have signed him earlier. Like, that guy's proven he could pitch in Boston. He was reasonably healthy. He wanted to stay here.
And he played good in high leverage situations.
Right. That's a guy you extend at the trade deadline the year before. You don't let him go to free agency. You just extend him.
No.
And pitched great against the Yankees.
Right.
Liked it here.
Walker was by far their best pitcher last year, and can't sign him. And even Erod is coming back to haunt us now.
And we always talk about, even the last decade, guys who can play in Boston. You have to prove that, especially in pitching. Can you pitch in Yankee Stadium, pal?
Right.
If all these able to do that.
But that short right field, that's tough, looming.
Now, because of the prospects we have, and hopefully that Chaim wouldn't try to start trading them to save his job, if you fire Chaim next month, can you basically move on pretty seamlessly and feel like you can start fielding a quality competitive team next year?
Yeah, look, there's no reason why the Red Sox can't put together a good baseball team next year. They don't have a lot of contractual obligations. They've got Devers, right?
And Sale,
last year on Sale, I believe.
Last year on Sale, you're not paying your pitching staff hardly anything at this point in time.
No.
Verdugo's not making big money. You go down the line, Yoshida's not making big money. They need to go out and
make some commitments.
Sign a superstar. They need to sign or trade for a superstar and pay high-end money for another superstar. And they need to go sign or trade for 3 or 4 really good Major League Baseball players.
Yeah.
Pitchers, mainly, right?
Yes, pitching is the bargain basement approach to getting guy. He just sits there watching the waiver wire. When people get cut, they got cut for a reason. He snaps them up.
And overpay for a catcher, a star catcher. Overpay for one who's going to be here for the next 7 years.
We need a starting catcher.
We don't, we don't have anybody in the development system right now at catcher. You have to establish that you're weak in those positions. They did that. You got to give Chaim credit. He did that with Yoshida. They didn't have, this Rafaela thing has just kind of occurred in the last year, but they realized that, they were weak in that depth position in outfield. They went and got Yoshida. Now go get a catcher.
Well, aren't they in on a pitcher, the best pitcher in Japan?
Yeah, supposedly, yeah. But we want the guy who's the best pitcher and hitter in the United States,
the United
who
States.
happens to be from Japan.
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Look,
But if you get the one, you might get the other.
okay, look, I know, Russ, you want to give him a big deal for 3 years, but the talk now is 70 for 10. So $700 million.
No,
you wouldn't do that.
No.
You wouldn't do that.
That precludes you from signing just about anyone else.
Oh, no. It's just, look, there's a point in which there's an unreasonable level of risk that you're taking. And, he's probably the best baseball player I've ever seen, right? When you look at both how he pitches and how he hits, but he's also somebody who could get injured, right? And you're stuck at 70 million a year for 8 years on a contract.
Almost $1 billion you're on the hook for.
No, I pay him anything for 3 or 4 years, anything.
Right. But you do realize the income, that the residual income they would get from the whole Japan thing would be very, very lucrative.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, probably, I guess. Look, there's no salary cap. So in the end, I shouldn't really care. Like, whatever they need to get Shohei Ohtani, fine. I mean, the ticket prices are already the highest in baseball. They're, everything else. So I guess I shouldn't care. So yeah, fine. If it takes 70 for 10.
Would it be the most exciting free agent signing in the history of Boston sports?
Well,
free agent.
Yeah, I mean,
there's been quite
there,
a few,
right? Manny was pretty.
Manny was big.
Pretty good signing, right?
Garnett was a trade.
Yeah,
Garnett was a
Grandpa
trade.
Gordon.
Yeah, Celtics haven't had any
big splashes.
Free agent signings.
No.
Although every year it's someone. Like this year, it's Dame Lillard is coming.
But they've always had trades. Well, no, I guess
But those are all trades, though.
Chara's was a pretty big free
Chara
agent.
was pretty big, yeah, but not to the degree that this would be. Or I think it's probably Manny, right? Manny's the biggest free agent signing ever for a Boston sports team.
Yeah, but as far as the hype of when he was signed, too.
Yeah.
When Gonzalez and Crawford got signed, boy, we were through the roof there. Remember? That was exciting.
So Gonzalez was a trade.
Oh, that's right. You're right.
Yeah, but Crawford, we were very happy with. Yeah, of course, he was
He just finished stealing 6 bases in a game against us.
He was what he could only have dreamt. Duran, he's basically a Duran, but Duran's obviously much better than Crawford ever was. And see, there you go. That's what we wanted. We wanted a Carl Crawford type, and Duran is that.
Duran's got a better therapist, I think. He does. He's got a better therapist. He does well.
No, absolutely.
He's had his problems, and his therapist has seen him through it.
No, you're right. You can see the way he talks in interviews. He's trying to be. He's carefully picking his words and stuff. God bless him. Because it seemed like things were going really south for that kid.
Yeah.
He
was in a deep hole there last year when he just watched the ball go to the wall, just looking at it.
Yeah, that's probably
that was a long recovery from that.
Yeah, he was probably high on who knows, but all right, well, boys, we got to go to the Boston Celtics, and the NBA is brilliant. We look. 90% of our text is the NBA at all times, right? They keep themselves alive every second. Are you watching the summer league games, Russell?
A little bit, yeah. I'm just kind of.
Isn't Wembayama going to play tonight?
Tomorrow night. He plays tomorrow
night.
Yeah.
You hear that story about him today?
No.
So he was in Vegas. Brittany Spears, only in Vegas can I tell you. Brittany Spears taps him on the back because she wanted to say hello to him, and the security guard he already has security. This guy, like, punches her in the face.
No.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah,
She
Like-
doesn't look like Britney Spears in real life. People are constantly fooled.
yeah. Well, he punched a small.
It's a very common thing. She has her picture taken with celebrities all the time, and they don't know it's her.
No, I've heard that, but still, I mean, so I think there's, I don't know, criminal charges or a lawsuit or something already happening
Yeah.
within hours. But crazy story. The hype on this kid is as big as it
Yeah.
was LeBron, right?
Yep, you got to go back
Oh,
to
yeah.
Tim Duncan down there in San Antonio.
Yeah,
He was big hype too.
he was.
He's
And they
7.
already had the Admiral then too. Remember, he was coming to the end of his reign.
He's 7'3.5" barefoot.
Yeah, I mean, in just a ridiculous wingspan too.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's a phenomenon, and that's just a guy you just really want to make sure that he does not get injured. That would be too bad. He seems like a great kid.
Yeah,
And those big guys, those big guys have a tendency to get injured, and
I sure do.
you really just hope that he stays healthy.
But some of those real big guys like him have had real staying power, like Wilt and Kareem.
Yeah.
And he's more along the lines of them, not as physically imposing as those two were, but he's got the height, and he could, at his age, he might grow into a bigger physique than he has right now.
Yeah, Joe, that's a great point. They said I saw him with his shirt off, and the guy's muscular, and they said it's pretty remarkable for a guy that height and that age to actually have
And I think
body mass.
he might be bigger than they advertise too. You see him up against guys that are supposed to be
He's
7.
listed at 7'5", but I think he's 7'3.5" with his shoes on.
Yeah,
right?
without shoes off. Yeah. So 7'5" with his shoes on.
Yeah, they usually measure him exactly at the combine
Yeah.
if you get that number.
That's, again, I don't think we have said this in the history of our 10 years doing this show, but the NBA has enough good players to expand.
Yeah, no doubt.
I mean,
Right.
there's no other sport that you could. Major League Baseball for sure can't expand. Football definitely not, and hockey definitely not.
You got to find the guy. What would you charge? $6 billion expansion fee?
Oh, I don't know. That's what. Well, they're going.
That's a lot of dough someone would have to come up with and then field a team.
They're going. Well, obviously that they're gonna.
You'd have a draft, yes. You'd have an expansion.
They're going to charge. They're going to charge what they could. Actually, the Celtics could not get hurt on an expansion draft right now, right?
Yeah. Right, because no one would want the big contracts or the draw.
No, well, but I'm saying you'd only. What was the last time you could only protect 8?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd probably only be able to protect 6 or 7 guys if you're the Celtics, right?
Right.
Although they'd have an easier time picking out 6 or 7 guys now than they did last week, because their depth is taking a bit of a blow here.
And that's a great segue into the next subject. Grant Williams is gone. Joe, are you sad? Tell me what your feelings about it.
No, not really. He was kind of irrelevant, but this is what happens. Now, Jaylen Brown's going to be getting like a $30 million raise per year. All you got to do is look, how much did Marcus make? How much is Grant making? There's your math. That's why they're gone.
Yeah, right.
There's only so much. The Celtics aren't like those West Coast owners. Those West Coast owners got deep pockets. They got great deals with the arenas. They're just night and day compared to the Celtics. The Celtics can't compete financially with the Ballmers and the Allens of the world. The Lakers are like the cheapest ones out there. They're the poor brothers and sisters.
Well, clearly, Russ, we're a worse team because Grant Williams is off it. I mean, the guy was a contributor, whether he could contribute in the playoffs, and he did not do that this year. He's a guy that, like you said in our text thread, gets you through the regular season.
He's the right matchup guy. The way he put his body on Embiid and Giannis and just weighed on them. He gave them the 5 fouls, 6 fouls, but by the fourth quarter, neither of those guys had anything left in them because of that big fat guy laying out
Yeah.
on top of them the whole game.
Yeah. On the other hand, if Missoula wasn't going to use him like he was used the year before, you can't pay basically a fourth big that kind of money to not play, right? So if this was, if they were looking at a similar rotation as they had last year, I don't blame them for not paying him. But, look, the big question is, do you think the Celtics are better now, meaning with Smart and Grant out and Porzingis and a couple of these other guys in? Do you think they're better right now than they were last year, at the end of last year?
I do.
I don't know if they're better, but I know it's different, and that's up to Missoula and Brad to put together the new team. That's their job. And they get paid quite a bit of money too. I mean, they're not getting chopped liver either.
I'm thinking about the playoffs already. I mean, it's still fresh in my mind.
But can't put the cart in front of the horse. You got to get there first.
Look, we watched Denver's of the world, the Miami's, the star players in the playoffs play 40 plus minutes. They don't. We don't need a huge amount of depth anymore. You're lucky if you go 7 right now in the playoffs. We always talk about 8, but that didn't happen in the playoffs. It was 7. So I want Porzingis out there 40 minutes a game. Can I replace the Grant Williams is very easily replaceable.
Yeah.
Well, as far as size, this new kid that they got, the bald kid, the second rounder, he's taller and bigger.
Right.
He's not heavier. He doesn't have the weight. Grant had a lot of weight in those hips, but he's got a 4-inch longer reach, and he's a real 6'6". Grant was only like 6'5.5".
Remember, Grant, when his first season didn't hit a 3-point shot for like,
he missed his first 25.
Crazy. Yeah. He did. That kid worked really hard in the offseason. Next thing you know, he came back with a 3-point shot. Yeah. A guy like this, Jordan Walsh, he can do the same thing. This is not hard.
No, I think you'd expect maybe for Walsh to play some. I think they're a little bit better. It remains to be seen who else, if they bring anyone else in. They're not as deep, obviously, but they're different, to Joe's point. They're going to be harder to stop on offense. They just are, because they got very predictable. Teams have been looking at those 3 guys play basketball together for 5 years now, and you could see that they kind of knew what was coming. And it was a grind for the Celtics offensively in the playoffs. And the bet they made is that Porzingis is a wild card.
Especially when they did that 5 out and 5 statues. 5 statues around the circle. And just didn't work.
They didn't know how to break a zone.
And
all you got to do is someone's got to move without the ball.
Porzingis is a zone breaker.
Yeah.
And we saw that with Jokic. That's how he does. He sits there at the free throw line, and they throw the ball at him, and then he can pass it, he can drive it and pass it. He can do a lot of things again, Marcus at times was irreplaceable, absolutely, but at times, again, he hurt the team in key situations.
And he wasn't playing much anymore. I mean, he wasn't getting 60 games the last few years. He was, starting to get the Nixon, bangs were starting to catch up with Marcus. He wasn't playing a lot of games, so.
The 2 guys they acquired this week, these guys who could be in a regular season rotation.
Yeah, regular season rotation. They're innings eaters. It's what you said, Scotty. You need someone to give Brown and Tatum a rest, and they decided Hauser wasn't enough for that. I would expect Hauser to get a lot of minutes this year. The way they're shaping up, I would expect Pritchard, if they're if they don't bring in another guard, I would expect Pritchard and Hauser to get a lot of minutes this year.
Yeah, you can't beat White to death. I know he played every single game in the regular season, the playoffs last year, but you can't expect that all the time.
No.
How about J.D. Davidson? I mean, I'm just going to throw his name out.
Boy,
Is there
that kid
any
can jump like
possibility?
Rob, can't he?
Yeah, look, he's gonna be on the varsity team, I think, and I think he'd be able to. You could imagine him playing 10 minutes a night, if he develops. He'll end up if he extends himself and improves, he would be competition for Pritchard. And if Davison ever showed that he could handle that role, then I think you trade Pritchard.
Yeah.
Because he's the kind of guy we've been talking about who can play maybe a traditional point guard.
Yeah,
Yep.
but right now he doesn't play, a well-constructed game. He's a
Very
little
young.
chaotic up there.
It's hard for 19-year-old kids to play point
Right,
guard in
right.
the NBA,
He's
right?
got to
Just-
grow into his game.
Yeah.
I mean, he has some spectacular defensive efforts, some spectacular offensive efforts, and then some very mediocre play. It's gonna have to be a while before it works it out.
Okay, is Brad done?
No. I think he
No.
could be done. I wouldn't be surprised if he sits on these assets, and the assets that they have right now are a trade exception for the Grant thing for $6.5 million, and a bunch of first and second round picks.
Yeah.
And to me, it's just a matter of timing. Does he give this team a shot as currently constructed for 30 games and then make a move at the deadline? Or does he do something now? And I think it's probably going to come down to value. Like, can he get good value now? Or does he feel like he can get better value if he waits for 30, 40 games?
Yeah.
Okay, with the acquisitions of the two kids this week and with Jordan Walsh coming in, what is the need? What position would Brad be trying to fill? And at what level does Brad feel like he needs to fill?
Yeah. To
Does
me,
he
it's
need a fourth star?
I think the reason why he has amassed the assets that he's amassed is to go get a fourth guy.
Yeah.
If he wants to.
Don't you
I
think
think
D
the
White's
biggest
number
needs right
4?
now are a backup wing, basically someone to a big wing to replace Williams. And I just think guard is a little thin. You got to put a lot of faith in Peyton Pritchard at this point. And Malcolm Brogdon staying healthy. If you told me that Brogdon could stay healthy to play 65 games again, I'd say, fine, we're good.
Yeah.
But that's a lot to ask.
I still think we need a solid wing to replace the Jays. Gallinari was supposed to be that last year, never materialized. Hauser just hasn't been the guy. Hopefully someone steps up. Grant was never the guy as the wing. We need someone to step in and give us a reasonable, doesn't have to be a star quality guy, someone that keeps the ball rolling,
Joe, you asked a great question. Russ, answer, is D White number 4?
Oh, right now, for sure. Absolutely.
So
And
you have your big 3 and then you have D White.
there's a ton of teams in the NBA who would love to have to Derek White as their 4th best player. I mean, he was an all defensive NBA player last year and who shot really well.
Miami Heat would love to have him as their 2nd best player.
I would think 3rd, Joe, but I get your point.
But they're not. D White's never going anywhere. I think D White's ending his career as a Celtic. There's no way they're letting him leave.
Well, I think they're betting. I think they've bet on him. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And trying to trade Brogdon and trading Smart, I think they've made their bet, right?
Yeah.
And he is on a very reasonable contract. That plays into that too.
I'd like to see them re-up him for at least.
Oh,
They will. I think they could do that late this year. They'll do that next year. He's got this year plus another year in his contract.
It feels like like they did with Al. Just one of these things that just kind of nobody hears about and then just pops up. They just
But they extend. Remember, they extended Jaylen Brown. They extended Marcus Smart. They extended Marcus Smart very quietly. That turned out to be a great contract. That contract.
They extended Rob too. Rob, Jason
Yeah.
Tatum was extended before his time. They've all been extended before their time.
That's right.
It's smart for these guys to do this. I mean, if all of a sudden they're going up to D White and said, we'd like to give you $50 million more dollars. I mean, again, how can you turn that down? It's life-changing for the D. White family for many generations to sign your name on a piece of paper.
And they've been all solid citizens, and no one has underplayed their contract. They've all lived up to their contracts too.
Just remember that Derek White started his collegiate basketball career at Johnson and Wales.
Yes.
What is it? Wait, in community college, right?
And then went to community college.
It's basically a culinary based
cooking
school down in Providence.
Yeah.
That kid, I tell you something. He reminds me more of Dennis Johnson, and we like to make that comparison a lot, but he's DJ, don't you think?
He's got that in him. He's definitely a better shooter than DJ, but yeah, he's got that
the hands.
Size. Yeah.
Just
I like the hands on defense are a lot like DJ.
But he kind of does everything right. He doesn't make too many mistakes.
Oh yeah, picks up his dribble at the right time, shoots when it's the right thing to do, passes when it's the right thing to do. He's very smart.
I mean, just think about it. The play that he made, the tip in, and DJ cut into the basket with Bird steal. I mean, those are literally the same IQs.
Yeah.
I mean, how many guys in the league of the DJ and
the other 9 players all stood there and watched.
Would have been in those spots.
Those
guys, I mean, they're special players. You don't get rid of those guys because those guys teach the rest of the players how to play the game.
Yeah.
And just for that, Brad Stevens deserves a lifetime contract.
It was a great trade. It really
nobody would even knows what we gave up.
They were talking about us getting Jay Rich back this year.
Yeah,
we could have
given up Jay Rich, Langford, and a pick first, and then we did give them a swap, but I don't think the swap's going to be much of an issue. But yeah,
because San Antonio is going to be pretty good.
They might be pretty good. Yeah,
right. So
San Antonio's been getting rid of guys left and right there over the last couple of years.
Well, we couldn't pick swap.
They wanted to do that to do what they just did.
Finish last year.
Wembanyama. So
before we go to the Patriots, tell me the value of Russell, because you're very good with this stuff. What's the value of second round picks?
Well, in the CBA, in this new CBA, the value of the second rounders has gone up dramatically because remember, those first round picks are guaranteed, I think, 4 years.
4 years.
And they are slotted. It's either 3 or 4, and they've got certain slots. So when you make a first round pick in the 20s, say you have the 22nd pick, you're committed to paying that player for 3 or
4 years.
4 years at a reasonably high rate. Once you get to the first pick in the draft, you are not obligated to pay those guys anything. You can sign them for however long. You can have non-guarantees. And so
teams,
completely flexible.
You're the Celtics. The 33rd pick in the draft is way more valuable to you now than the 26th pick in the draft. It just is.
That was already proven because that's why he went down.
And they didn't have any. And you could see all around the NBA, these second round picks are being used as currency in trades that are getting good guys.
And another point, Russ, is they're gonna no more one and done. You can take a flyer on a high school kid now in that second round.
No, you can't. You have one and done. Yeah, and
I thought the one and done was over with this.
No, they talked about it, but no, you have a one and done. But even still, it doesn't really matter. Like the fact that you can sign.
They can go to the G League instead of going to college.
The fact that you can sign a second rounder to a 2-way contract and really not guarantee them hardly anything creates way more flexibility to stay under these punitive cap.
The aprons, yeah, right. Interesting. We could talk about the NBA forever. All right, we got to go to the Patriots. Training camp is happening in 2 weeks? 2 weeks from today.
Wow.
Right?
Joe's, it's the happiest time of Joe's year, opening up training camp.
Yeah.
So
but D Mac had some pretty bad news when they asked him
Yeah.
You know, how come you retired? You didn't come back? He says, well, at my age, you come back if you think you got a chance at a ring. I didn't think we had a chance at a ring.
Come on, D-Mac was so washed up. I can't even stop. Come on, just
But
stop.
but he was like having a coach on the field.
Okay, well,
Had the other guys in the right place at the right time, and he made all those Jones boys look a lot better than they probably were.
okay. Would you rather see Hopkins signed or Duger re-upped?
Hopkins. They got safeties.
That I don't know. Is Phillips still viable? They got
Peppers
Peppers and Duga, and that new kid they signed as a safety. The tiny linebacker. He's going to be a safety.
No, but I like Duger. I'd like to see them re-up him.
I do too, but I mean, when you're giving me a choice between a wide receiver who can make our quarterback into a better player,
all right,
or one of 4 safeties on our team, the answer now, if you said to me, what would you rather have? So this is a question for Joe. Would you rather have like a starting grade left tackle or DeAndre Hopkins?
I'd rather have an upper echelon. Doesn't have to be all pro left tackle, but a solid starter. That
starting grade, solid starter.
Yeah, top third of the league. Doesn't have to be top 3 or 5. But
I would too. I'd rather have that too, because I mean,
that makes everything better for the quarterback.
Yeah,
that makes all the wide receivers open an extra second. Makes the running backs open an extra second.
We've seen what Mac looks like under duress, and that is not a pretty sight.
No, he's not battling at baton there. So
when you would assume that Hopkins happens one way or the other in the next few days.
Well, did you see the tweet today about he was mad he didn't know they put salt pork in the chowder?
Yeah, so he's in Boston apparently.
Yeah,
I think he'll wait until the beginning of training camp. I don't think he's not a training camp guy, and he can wait to see if someone gets injured. Someone pulls a hammy or tears a quad or blows an Achilles in the first week on a competitive team. One of these, if Stephon Diggs blows a hammy in the first week of training camp in Buffalo, you want to be DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
And he, as a veteran, he doesn't want to go through the bullshit of training camp.
Right. No, they don't like that.
Veteran coaches like Belichick understand that and will live with that. I don't know about a guy like McDermott. He might not be too cool with that.
So what's the whole? Are we just dreaming about Hopkins and Dalvin Cook coming?
Well, I think
much rather Dalvin Cook than Hopkins any day of the week. Better receiver, better runner, better everything.
I just don't see them signing. If they could get Dalvin Cook for a bargain. Yeah, but man, like
they don't pay big money for them.
They don't. And if you're Ramondre Stevenson's, like, you got to be sitting there saying, what the hell? Like, I was a better back than Dalvin Cook last year for the
just look at all the backs of the last 10 years, the Ridleys, the Damian Harrises, they've come and gone. As soon as their 3 years was up, move them on.
That'd be exciting, wouldn't it?
Oh,
I'd be more excited for Hopkins. So my
well, maybe that kid from if there might be a trade available. Josh is having all that problems with that Jacobs kid, who had even better numbers last year.
Oh, he's a stud.
If Josh is having problems with him, he's holding out as something right now.
My guys would be, very good left tackle, DeAndre Hopkins, and then a big gap to another running back.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that Trent Brown will either be cut or traded.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Probably cut. I think I think they're all done with him.
but you have to have somebody who can replace him, and they got nothing right now.
I think they told Adrian Clem. Remember, they signed about 4 or 5 tackles. It's all flotsam and jetsam, but I think that's Adrian Clem's assignment. Make a line out of this. Put it together, cobble it together one way or another, but we want a solid line.
Somehow I think they really love that kid from UCLA, and I don't know what position he's going to play, but somehow I've got to believe that they're going to try to convert him to tackle.
Maybe so.
He's big enough. He's a big kid. I don't know if he has.
If he has
I
the
got an
footwork,
idea for
that's
you.
it.
How
It's all
about-
about your foot speed at tackle. You got to
Here's
be
an idea.
as fast as
Draft a
those
freaking
guys.
tackle. Like, how about that? Draft a tackle somewhere in the first 3 rounds.
It's
why
so
can't we
hard
do
to get
that?
the cream of the crop. It's so
Why,
hard.
why can't we do that? Is there a problem with that?
Yeah, that's what we wanted in the first round. I mean,
Yep.
we didn't get it. I know. I mean, look, but also
But where we drafted, we would have been drafting the 5th best left tackle. You know, that's how it got. They went off. The good ones went off
Joe,
early.
how many 3rd round draft pick tackles are playing in the NFL in any given year? A lot. Like, you don't have to be the first pick, and it didn't even need to be the 2nd pick. How about picking like an actual tackle with your 3rd pick?
Yeah, but they did get a lot of fat guys like you wanted, Russ.
Yeah, but they're all guards, right? So, like, I don't know. I liked the draft. I thought it was great. They got some guards, but it's going to be brutal if they don't have if Trent Brown is not in shape and he can't play left tackle, this team's in trouble.
Because I think they're going to put that Riley Reef over on right tackle.
Oof.
Yeah, that could not be pretty. That could be pretty ugly. Yeah, he's been around forever, right?
They drafted all interior linemen.
Yeah.
There was no one on the outside, no one with the fancy footwork. Because those defensive ends are fast. Those edge rushes, they've got the position because they got fast feet and they can move. It's not because they're strong. You see, most of them are giving up 70, 80 pounds to the tackles, right? It's because they're fast and mobile.
So what are you hearing about Jack Jones? He's still on the team, which I'm pretty amazed about. I mean, what he has
a journey.
I mean, do they think he can beat this rap? They must, right?
Yeah, I mean, they could always do we're going to let this be adjudicated in court, and we know it could take up to a year, and we think there's enough question about what exactly happened, and we're going to treat him as innocent until proven guilty, and he's your starting cornerback. They could
Because
do
he didn't
that.
hurt anybody. So this is a victimless crime.
Yeah,
he did not hurt
Sure.
anyone.
Yeah,
They could have been victims.
Well, there's
there was
there
a
could
lot
be
of
a lot of
potential there.
these are victimless crimes. They can be, easily
got
explained.
it. Yeah, here's the problem though. We said this a couple weeks ago. If this was his first infraction, it'd be one thing. This is like the 4th one, 5th one where he just makes. My biggest issue with them is he has some serious judgment problems, and you really want a guy like that, running around in your locker room, right? Like, he looks to be a danger to himself and a menace.
Everyone around him.
But I just you're absolutely right. But then why is he still on the team?
I don't know.
Robert Kraft has had his legal issues, and he made his way through them, and he was caught dead to rights, right?
Yeah. Well, this is going to be very interesting. This is all coming. I can't wait. Tom Brady, who spends his career now getting selfies with people, with famous people, had a picture yesterday. You see that Mac Jones and Tom Brady. Maybe Tom Brady's a cutout. Maybe they just put him in there like.
Well, you see how much money he lost? A lot of money on that crypto thing.
Oh no, he's getting sued too.
Giselle lost mucho money, like $100 million.
Yeah, Tom Brady's just, and he looks different every time I see him.
He does.
Yeah, he's gonna start looking like my aunt.
Yeah, he's a weird dude. I mean, there's no doubt about that.
Right?
He's having trouble adjusting to civilian life. Yes,
and it's pretty clear Fox didn't give him a dime, nor did they plan on it.
He wouldn't be good at it anyways. He's not the analyst type.
It may be in a couple of weeks we'll be able to have him on the show because he just wants to. All right, we got to finish up with the Bruins and the Bruins. This is hockey, and even when we talk to Timmy, who knows hockey better than all of us, he never knows when the Bruins acquire guys. He's never even heard of half.
Well, he probably liked Shattenkirk. He always likes a big defenseman. Well,
he was with the Bruins at one point, right?
Long time ago, I think. Yeah, I just don't understand. I think Sweeney got caught flat-footed on this
The
Bertuzzi
Bertuzzi
thing.
thing.
And
Oh,
I just don't understand, signing all those guys, and then finding out that Bertuzzi wanted that felt like a Chaim move, misreading the market,
yeah.
misreading his own player. And I still think I don't know why we couldn't have dealt Olmark and signed Bertuzzi. Wouldn't we be a pretty damn good team, a better team if I know it creates a potential gap behind Swayman, but wouldn't you rather have a top 6, forward
Oh,
than
especially where we're losing 2 guys off the first 2 lines.
Yeah, I don't get what Sweeney did. I don't.
Did the Bertuzzi camp misread the market too? I mean,
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
so maybe I'm wrong and just
Well, he pivoted. He wanted the long term, but the Bruins wouldn't go. So then he decided, well, I'll do the 1 year. Give
I
him the
thought the
most I
Bruins
can for
offered
1 year.
420, and he ended up getting
Like 6,
one for
5,
5.5.
5, 8.
5.5.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
but that to me is on the general manager that sounds a lot like the Nathan Eovaldi thing, right? But isn't it on the
Yes.
general manager to keep an option open, to not send himself, down the path where he can't come back and
Yeah,
still
you
sign
can
him
keep
when
in
the guy's
touch with
hurt?
the agent,
So why
I
did they
don't know.
just wrap that up after Hall went out the door?
I don't know. That's my point. Like I just don't. I thought trading Hall was a ticket to being able to retain Bertuzzi at least.
Well, I think Hall was just getting rid of an unproductive player.
I
It
guess,
cost a lot
but
of money.
sent $6 million out, and then we just signed a bunch of guys for $1 million each. Like, all right,
Yeah.
great. By the way, it may work, but
But Hall just wasn't productive. What do you have, like 35 points or something?
Yeah, he was a third line. He was a third line.
Is that
Yeah,
a
he'd been-
referendum on the poor drafting by Sweeney that he felt that he
Yes.
needed to go out and get 5 Luchits to help depth
Yeah,
because
it
he
is.
didn't have that in the system?
It is. And it also, he's been trading a lot of picks, which I don't blame him for. But I don't know why you need $11 million worth of goalie right now.
Yeah.
Like, because that's what you're going to be getting with Swayman. I just don't. That just made no sense to me. The Olmark's value has literally never been higher, and the guy was crap in the playoffs. He was crap. He crapped himself during the playoffs, and you can say he got injured and blah 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 blah. The guy was not a number 1 goalie in a playoff run. He got eliminated in the first round. He made one of the dumbest goaltending plays you will ever see in a big game.
Yeah.
Like, and you could have. He won the freaking Vezina Trophy. Trade him.
Yeah, you would have been selling high, absolutely. The Lucic deal, before we go, that just, that just, but again, this is
Sells
much-
tickets.
Pandering.
Does it really sell tickets?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
For those,
Luch is very.
for those Bruins fans like Timmy
love him.
Hoey. Oh my God.
Oh my God! And they're posting a video with Neely talking to
Yeah.
Lucic.
They're going to be able to. Everyone's going to be able to wear their Lucic jerseys again. They're going to be screaming Luch. He's going to light a guy up every once in a while in a fight. Whatever.
Yeah.
It's kind of a loser mentality, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like all those years while they were losing, but they loved their Terry O'Reilly,
Right.
But we can agree that there are worse. You asked whether the Celtics are worse or off right now, and I know, it's questionable.
Bruins are worse.
Bruins are far worse off than they were.
Yeah.
No doubt.
To get rid of your best guy, would you agree Bertuzzi was their best player in the playoffs?
Oh, yeah, by far.
Yeah.
And going down the stretch too.
And they get rid of him. All right, so that's our show for tonight. Of course, want to thank the fellas. Please check us out on our website at thegrandstanders.com and tune again next Thursday night at 7:00 for another edition of Grandstanders Live. I'm your host, Scott Kerman. Have a great and happy night.